Welcome to the Consulting Leaders Podcast, where we talk about the business of consulting. Whether you're looking to grow your practice or learn from the stories of leaders in consulting, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Guillaume Jouvencel, ex-PwC and co-founder of GHA Marketing. Join me as I interview the best consultants in their niche. Let's get on with the show. Team, welcome to Consulting Leaders. Happy to have you.
Thank you, Guillaume. Very pleased to be here.
Let's jump straight into it. What got you into consulting and coaching in the first place, Tim?
Well, there's the long story, and then there's various shorter ones. I'll try and strike a balance, and please feel free to stop me with it.
Give me the nuggets.
Okay, I'll give you the nuggets. So I've always been fascinated with leaders and leadership. So going back to when I was 13, 14, growing up in rural mid Wales, and came from a background that was all about hard work and getting jobs. So I had part-time jobs, and I was always fascinated by the difference in atmosphere depending on which leader was running the shift or not, be it at the shop I was working at or the paper round that I was delivering on. So that was always of interest, and I loved books. I was an avid reader, so I used to read books like Lord of the Rings, and there's so many different leadership examples within books like Lord of the Rings. And there was one series that I read by an author called Alexander Kent, and it charted the rise of a Cornish lad who went to sea as a midshipman, and through the course of about 20 books, he became a rear admiral. And the stories in there, the leadership stories, the trials and tribulations were fantastic. So that was early on. Sport played a part as well. So playing sport, different captains, different coaches, and the impact that they could bring to teams. And I guess if you'll bear with me, when I got serious with it was probably after I'd got my degree, after I didn't know what to do. I'd got some retail management experience, and then I went traveling, and I wanted to continue traveling, but it felt like it was time to get serious. And I found a halfway house. So I joined an organization who were in hospitality. It was a bar chain, and I thought, well, that gives me fun, but it also gives me some training, and their training was ahead of the curve and ahead of the time. Within a few weeks, I was on outward bound weeks in the Lake District, learning about leadership and getting tested under pressure. Went on territorial army weekends with very little sleep, and it just got me more and more hooked into the difference you can make as a leader. And then there were two further turning points within that experience. One was when I went on a short half-day workshop, which was coaching skills for managers. And that was a game changer for me because just the mindset, the principles, the skills that were involved just made sense, but I hadn't been familiar with them. And then what really made sense to me was the real world impact you could have. So going back in then to work with my team and trying out some of these approaches, and it worked. So that was one. And then a second one was talking about environment that leaders can create. I worked in one bar and arrived there, and there's a South African lady who was running this place, and it was awesome. The atmosphere was great, the customers were great, the performance was great, and I loved it. And then the general manager returned from holiday, and it was like the thunderstorm had come in. The clouds rolled in, he rolled in, and he was autocratic, and it had to be done his way. And we clashed quite a bit, and I was really interested in the impact that he had on the people and on the performance. So that kind of hooked me into it. And I went on then to put myself through coaching qualifications and get really serious about the world of leaders.
I'm a simple man, Tim. someone references Lord of the Rings, I vibe with the person. That's just automatic. Did you travel? Did you go to New Zealand and visited that Hobbit landscape and the Helm's Deep landscape? Did you do
Yeah,
that?
so
Really?
I didn't do all of that. I did go to New Zealand. I've been lucky enough to get to New Zealand three times in total. I haven't done the
Nice.
Lord of the Rings tour. I need to. There's another reason to go back.
There we go. Okay, so I like that. Tell us how that led, or more like, what problem is it that you're solving now? Like, what is it that you're helping people achieve, essentially?
Yeah, so it's a good question, and I think there are many different answers to the question. One of the things I like to do, and we like to do as an organisation, is to meet people where they are, and take a consultative approach, as you might expect, to find out, well, where are they? What are they seeking to do within their organisation at the moment? And what are the blocks? What are the barriers to them achieving that? And sometimes that relates to an individual who might be looking to transition into a different role. Sometimes it might be about a team who, at this point, are they're in the hotspot of the organization. They're the ones under pressure. They're the ones that everyone's working towards delivering on the strategy, but that's the team who can shift the lever the furthest. So about helping them to do that. Sometimes big shifts in technology. We might have got about 7 or 8 minutes into this without mentioning AI, but how do you adapt and make the most of the opportunities that are out there? So a myriad of I guess opportunities that we work with leaders and organizations around. Most of it boils down to people, of course.
Who would have thought?
Yes,
Do you have
indeed.
do you have a specific niche that you're working with? Like, are you working with typical industry, company size, niche, role, even when it comes to leadership and being good with people? Like, who do you end up working with?
Yeah, so it's normally at a senior leader level or senior manager level that we work at, in terms of position, and sometimes that's C-suite, and often it isn't. Often it might be the senior leadership team, but below that. We, in terms of niche and organizations, I mean, just one of the brilliant things about this world is that we're not just working in one sector. We work across different sectors. So we'll work with some professional sports teams. We'll work with manufacturing, charities. We'll work in tech, in retail. So all sorts of different organizations. And I think that's part of the brilliance of it as well, is that you can bring the learning from one environment to another. It's almost like bees with the pollen, getting to see behind the curtain of different industries and then bringing those lessons across. And clients value that as well. They value the connections and value the different lenses to look at what is right in front of them with. Yeah. I think if I may, sorry.
No, go ahead, Tim.
Okay, I was just going to say that the other thing that occurs to me is, ideal world for us, we like to work with organizations and people who enjoy genuine partnership. So they're the experts in their world and their specific issues, problems, challenges, realities, and hopefully we bring some expertise in as well. And also love to work with ambitious organizations.
So I like that. The follow-up question I always have to this type of answers is, it makes sense. And at the end of the day, people are people. And yes, there might be some small nuances when you change industries, but at the end of the day, the way people are with other people can be, the same applies to any industry. Yeah. That said, when people are looking for a solution to that specific problem, assuming they know that this is the root cause problem, first of all, but assuming they know, when they're looking to a solution, it's much easier to go for someone or a solution where you see other people who look like me, think like me, and do the same thing as me have benefited from that solution and gotten results, right? It's the famous, like, you need back surgery, you have two options, a surgeon who has done 10,000 surgeries and like 1,000 brain, 1,000 arms, 1,000 guts, 1,000, I don't know, whatever, backs, or a surgeon who's done 10,000 back surgeries. And the question is like, who would you rather go for? And why are you willing to pay a premium to the second one? Because they've done it specifically for people with the same problem as you, who look like you, who think like you. That's a very long-winded question. But that said, how do you brand? How do you market? How do you get those leaders to the door and be like, hey, team, I might need your help here?
Yeah. It's a good question. And I think my vote would be for the experienced back surgeon. Just if there was any doubt. If there was any doubt. And I think that's right. It's credibility, isn't it? To what extent do I trust this person, this organization, to be able to help me when I need that help, and to people and organizations obviously have choices as to where they invest the money. So you've got to have that credibility. You've got to be recognizable enough. So I think that's where case studies can be useful. Equally, the strongest possible, and again, you'll know this, Guillaume, but the strongest possible way forward really is referral, and its experience, if not exactly in the same niche, in the same market, in the same specialism, it's experience with similar issues, problems. So I think you got to do two things. You've got to demonstrate that credibility, and build that trust. And part of that is really listening to them as well. I think there was that, was it US president, one of the quotes of US presidents that everyone talks about, the Theodore Roosevelt, I think this one is, he said something like, people won't care about what you know until they know that you care. And I think that's a game changer too. If they genuinely believe you care, then they'll engage with you or give you more of a shot to be able to prove yourself.
That does make absolute sense to me. Who is it that you, so especially in leadership and people, what I see often is that the person you end up working with is not the same person as the one who made the decision. So whilst we are industry agnostic, is there someone in particular that you need to be in the room with, so that you need to build that trust and relationship with before they're like, hey, my team can use that, or my senior leadership team can do that? Who gets you in, team?
Yeah, it's a good question, because there's the trust that you build with that first person that you engage with. You need to keep that going, of course, and they need to trust you enough to then refer you on to the next person. And then you've got to almost start again. You can't take it for granted. So you start again and build that trust with the next person. In terms of who brings us in, generally speaking, a lot of the time it will be HR directors, it will be talent, people development for our world. And I listened to a previous podcast of yours, Guillaume, and I heard you talking with a chap named Ben Hunt Davis, and I like that. So will it make the boat go faster? And I met Ben, actually. He won't remember, but many years ago, I went through a workshop with him, and he was really, really good. And I listened. He answered a different question, but I think it'll be a similar answer in terms of HR directors, learning and talent, the majority, and then closely followed by senior decision makers who may not be in a specific learning or talent department or role, but they have both decision-making ability. They've got budget, and they want to get things done. And more often than not, if it's the latter, then that is the person you end up engaging with. But obviously, you'll have learning and talent before you then get to the people that you actually work with. Or you go through, if you're going for a preferred supplier agreement or something of that ilk, then it might well be that you're working more with procurement and purchasing before you get to that next level, and then that next level after that.
So I love when guests reference each other. I love this podcast. It's so cool. So it sometimes it's good to get validation that we are interviewing cool people like you, Tim.
You're a good man.
trying to. Cool. Okay, that all makes sense. And since we are really on that relationship-based marketing approach, lead gen approach, which makes sense. I mean, B2B coaching, consulting, it's very high ticket. It's trust building and authority building first, and we talk business afterwards. Talk to me about that part though. So you get a referral, someone introduces you to someone else, an existing client is like, I can't believe the result I'm getting with Tim. You need to try this, and you get a referral. What happens then? How do you move from a referral to a conversation, a sales conversation, a letter of engagement, an SOW when we rock and roll? What does, and I call it often sales motion, look like? But for the first time on this show, I'm going to tweak it a bit and say, what does partnering up motion looks like for you, Tim?
Yeah. So it's different, and obviously it will be unique according to the circumstance, according to the nature of the referral, and there will be some commonalities when we're working through it. So I won't duck your question. Assume we get a referral, the first thing to be doing would be to respond in a very timely fashion. So I think from the beginning, if we can respond quickly and respond with availability for conversation, ideal world, either we meet via Teams or on Zoom or any other platform, or even more ideal world, we'll be able to meet in person, but geographically that's not always possible. And what I and my colleagues would seek to do is first to understand. So let's understand what it is you're looking for and how you think we can help you, and to do some exploration before we get to a point of trying to demonstrate our knowledge, our wisdom, and our ability to do it. Now, I think this is where a coaching approach or a coaching consulting approach can be really helpful. So to be able to ask questions from them and understand all of this, and at the same time be really clear, what is it that they want from this conversation, so that they feel that they'll be able to get exactly what they want from that initial conversation, and start to build trust that they'll be able to get that from the whole relationship as they go. So I think that's part of it. Then really it does depend on what is the scale and the scope of the work, what is the level of complexity involved in the work, what are their timescales, how quickly do we need to move. I think also at some point or another, it is about bringing a level of confident, well-intentioned challenge to the conversation. So there may be an opportunity to ask some challenging questions, check some assumptions on the part of the client about what it is they're looking to do and how they're looking to do it. So I think we need to be brave in the way that we work as well. It's very respectful of clients. I'm not sure if I'm answering your question here, Guillaume, but I do feel like I'm talking a lot.
Which is the whole point of a long-form podcast. So this is actually perfect. So if I was to summarize a bit, and you tell me if I understood this properly, I like the way you describe your partnering up motion, which is very much like it's going to be day in, day out relationship building. And people are not necessarily going to move forward until they already have a relationship with you. And paying and becoming an actual paying customer is just a detail of the logistics, because you actually started building the trust and authority at the very beginning of the path. And I was like, yeah, let's just take the next steps here. Which, I mean, in 2026, I think this is how coaches and consultants are going to win, because anybody can claim anything on the internet nowadays. And whilst there are ways to build that trust, build that authority through, of course, content and many different ways, when you're able to do that on a one-on-one setup, or maybe one to a few or one to many, if you have masterminds, like, I don't know, webinars whatsoever, but having a way to build that relationship as you go is how you're going to make people comfortable paying the high five, 6 figures, 7 figures even, that it takes to work with a high-ticket B2B coaching or consulting firm. My summary ends up being as long as your answer, but hopefully that offers guidance to the audience.
I think it's really important, and I think it was a very good summary. I also think, and one of the reasons that I'm with the organisation I'm with now for it's over 15 years, I think now, is the quality of the individuals that I work with as well. So I also have really high trust and with the people that I work with. So knowing, and that confidence in them comes through to the clients as well. So if I'm then handing work over or bringing in other people, I think that confidence really comes through. So it's not just one person, it's the confidence in the whole team and the ability to really help people.
Amen to that. Talk to me about what happens after. Okay, I'm engaged, team, we are rock and rolling, we are working together. How do you, I was gonna say, make the most out of me? How do you keep on providing value? You arrive, you fix the initial problem that your client has, and then what happens? Because, coaching and consulting firms grow when they're able to acquire customers reliably, but also, and most importantly, when they are able to retain those customers. Not as in, we're gonna, milk you as much as possible, but hey, here's how we keep on providing value on the long term, and here's how we can keep on partnering up on the long term as well. What does that look like for you, Tim?
Yeah, so it's a great question. So I won't spend much time talking about this because we have talked about this already, but the relationship. So the relationship is the absolute fundamental. So that continued building of the trust. I think that there's another R that comes after it, which is relevance. So how do you keep yourself relevant and useful? So if you want to help people, how do you do that? I think that's one of the values that we have in terms of the spread of services that we offer. So it might be that we start working around team development, but that might grow out to a little bit of organizational culture, or there might be a couple of leaders who require some one-to-one exec coaching. Somebody may wish to get a coaching qualification at some point. So there's a spread of connected services, which I think helps to retain the relevance. I think the other thing that you've got to continue to do, for ourselves as well, is to be excited about the work, to keep innovating, keep exciting ourselves and keep challenging ourselves, but equally bringing that same quality of excitement to the clients as well. Because if you can continue to bring relevant, exciting solutions and ideas to clients, I think you stand a much better chance of remaining relevant and sustaining those relationships. And as we all know, it's not only, if you build relationships with people, you want to continue to help them. That's part of it. And from a business perspective, obviously, it's a lot better to retain and sustain good relationships than it is to have short-term relationships and then have to go back out and try and find some new clients all the time.
I like your style, Tim. So I'm gonna throw a little bit of a curveball question at you now. I don't know if you're much of a fan of cricket or baseball, but I'm sure you get the analogy.
Yeah, I can't catch, but I can duck. Let's
see that. What's your what's your number one challenge right now? What's, a nut that you're trying to crack that, once you crack, you're going to take the whole thing to the next level? What would that be for you?
So we talking personally or organizationally, Guillaume?
So now you got yourself into this. So both. Let's start with the business-wise, and happy to hear the personal one as well.
Yeah, I told you I couldn't catch. I've split the balls now.
Nice duck, though. Nice duck.
Okay, so personally, and I think this is a repeating challenge for me, is I think I've already said I love what I do. I like to be hands-on. I like to support clients. So I have certain clients that I work with teams, and I work with individuals. And at the same time, I've got a responsibility to drive forward our business and support my colleagues and try and deliver on the strategy that we've developed. So it's really, to what extent am I hands-on doing the work, and to what extent am I working on the business, as it were, rather than the old phrase working in the business. So I think that's a constant challenge for me. And I love variety, so that doesn't help me either, because I like to jump from things. So that's on a personal perspective. I think from an organizational perspective, we would have similarities with many of our clients. So, so it is a cliche, the constant perpetual rate of change. And the curveballs, we're talking about the baseball, the curveballs that are coming at us all of the time. So how do we adapt? And one of my colleagues has done some really good research recently on adaptive leadership. What's the mindset and the skills to enable leaders to adapt in a way that works for them, works for their teams, and works for their organizations, when they don't know what the problems are sometimes, let alone what the solutions are. They can't actually identify what the problem is. So how do you keep yourself sane? How do you keep yourself set and moving forward? So I think, we've got challenges on that. I mentioned early on AI. AI is a challenge. From a coaching perspective, there are competitors out there now who weren't there 4 or 5 years ago. There'll be more tomorrow that weren't there, and they're all doing it cheaper, faster, less personal, I would say. But I'm biased. But how do you keep yourself differentiated? And also, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Ryan Holiday's work. He sort of not repackages, but he translates and makes accessible some of the wisdom of the Stoics. And one of the books that he wrote was "The Obstacle is the Way," and I think that's the key in some ways. Is to, rather than worry about how we get around it, how we deal with it, is just to lean into it and go at it, and see where we get. So I think, yeah, for me personally, it's probably, where do I put my energies, and how much of the energies in which place. And then for the organization, it's constant adapting.
Thanks for sharing this, Tim. Really appreciate it. I think that echoes with what a lot of people will be going through right now. So that's why I like to ask this question, is because we will have B2B coaches and consultants listening to us right now going through the same challenge, or facing the same challenge, personally and professionally. And it's always interesting to see and hear how your peers are thinking about solving the very problem that you're facing yourself. So thanks for sharing this. On the other side of the coin, what is a big opportunity that you see for you in the next 3 to 6 months that you're looking forward to work on? If you answer AI, you can, but you need to give me some details, not just AI.
Okay. So I think, again, going back to what I just mentioned there in terms of the obstacle is the way, I think that, the challenges that come up are the things that they're there anyway. So you might as well go at them. and see if you can resolve them and work with them. And in doing so, I think, from an organizational point of view, we will probably get closer to our clients because they're wrestling with similar problems often, and perhaps we can get ahead of the curve enough that we become even more relevant with them. I'm going to be a little bit brave, and I am going to answer AI to an extent, and specifically actually around team development and working with teams. So it's one of the services that we offer. And one of the challenges coming up for us, I think, in the not too distant future is, okay, you're a team developer, you go in, you either work remotely or you work in person with a number of people within a physical team, and we're not far away from the team coach needing to go in there and work with a team who are maybe 6 humans and 2 AI agents. So how do you navigate that, and how does that actually work? Do you pair up a team coach with an AI coach as well, going into the room to work in those circumstances? So I think there are innovations there, and certainly I'm no expert on this. I'm off to sea next week. It's not my only reason for it, but I'm off to Belgrade, and I'm going to meet up with someone who is an expert in AI and coaching, has written a book about it. So I'm hoping to get some tips and tricks from there, and share some wisdom, hopefully. So that's one thing. The other thing is culture and organizational culture, and how organizational culture can strengthen itself in these times. So I talked about adaptive leadership. I think, how do you build a culture that is high performing in spite of everything that's going in and around? And working with a couple of organizations, or a few colleagues, and looking at research into culture. We published the cultural hypothesis a couple of years ago, which highlighted 4 enablers of high performing cultures. And we've one of those enablers was cultural leadership, and we're just about to publish another paper that talks about the roles within cultural leadership. So I'm looking forward to seeing that, and how it can support us and support other colleagues. So again, I'm going to pause. I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, Guillaume.
You're answering perfectly, Tim, and thank you very much for this. And this was Tim Cox, ladies and gentlemen. Tim, if people want to find out more about you, see what you do, or stay in touch with what might be coming up for you, where should they go?
Yeah, so thank you, Guillaume. So managementfutures.co.uk is the best place to start. We've got insights page on there with research and links to some of our collateral, our own podcasts, and some of the videos too. So also, if any of you ever want to chat, I'm up for it. I like talking with people.
We'll put all the links in the description. I can say one thing for sure, Tim, is that you've gained at least 1 new connection on LinkedIn out of this interview. Me, I just added you. Thank you so much for coming on Consulting Leaders.
Okay. Thanks very much, Guillaume. Been a pleasure.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Consulting Leaders podcast. We hope you learned valuable lessons on how to grow your practice and take your business to the next level. Make sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you're listening to this show so you never miss an episode. To apply and be a guest on the show, click the link in the description. See you next time.